Mullan Village is a border village near Emmy Vale in County Monaghan. During the 18th and 19th century, the village was a thriving rural industrial centre. The 20th century saw the village fall into disrepair several times, and it was almost abandoned until a developer once again breathed new life into some of the old buildings and restored them alongside new high energy efficient homes. The significance of Mullan Village is that it is a purpose-built mill village from the 1800s. It was originally built here 2 rows, the white row and the red row, to house workers for the original flax mill that was here. It's one of 2 mill villages in County Monaghan, and it's of regional heritage significance because it's still standing, it retains its setting, its group value and a lot of heritage significance in the individual buildings.
I was born in this house here in 1929 and I lived here up until 3 weeks ago. So now I'm moving out to renovate the house and I intend to move back in it. Father and mother, brothers and sisters, we all lived here. Pump across the road there, that was your water. There was no running water in the houses. That's the old dance hall down there. There used to be concerts nearly every other week in that hall. I remember 180 people living in this village at one time. When the shoe factory was going down there, and majority of the people that lived in the village worked in the factory. You know, life was great.
This restoration project came about because the village came up for sale along with the mill. The village had been empty, apart from one resident. People had gradually left here during the 70s and 80s due to the Troubles, due to new housing being built elsewhere. The owner who bought the village immediately started to seek planning permission for new development and consolidation of the existing buildings. The village would not have survived without this intervention.
What we're trying to achieve is to conserve the existing buildings and the existing village and to, with the new houses and that, build a sustainable village for the future. There was absolutely no services in the old village. The sewerage system was non-existent, the water system was non-existent, the electricity system was long redundant. So we had to build in the whole infrastructure for the village.
The builder put a lot of thought into the development of these old buildings at the initial stages. He worked to ensure that energy efficiency was at the forefront of the development by ensuring that the insulation standards were over and above what was actually required, by installing energy efficient boilers and underfloor heating. The new buildings have solar panels and are oriented to maximise passive solar gain.
These houses are constructed with a timber frame construction which consists of 150 mil of an internal leaf. This 150 mil consists of a 6-inch stud, an 80 mil rigid insulation and an 80 mil of a high density insulation. These houses are completely airtight as there is no trickle vents in the windows and no external vents in the walls. All stale air is removed from the house through vents in the ceiling into an air handling unit in the attic, which takes in fresh air from outside, circulates it and blows it back to the house. Let's go and have a look. As you can see, we have the standard 300 mil insulation in the roof space. All our pipework is completely insulated, our ducting coming from the solar panel, which is interconnected to a heat exchanger. It heats the air which circulates around the room. It also is interconnected back to the cylinder in the hot press, which heats the warm water. Behind us we have an air handling unit which, as I was saying, just takes the stale air out of the house, takes in fresh air and circulates fresh air back through the house.
Well, it costs some extra money to build a house to that standard. The overall costs over the lifetime of the house would be a huge saving on the person that owns the house. The saving in energy consumption should subsidise their mortgage for years on end.
There are various funding schemes available for projects like this type. For example, the Conservation Scheme for Protected Structures operated by the local authorities. There also is a grant scheme called the Buildings at Risk Scheme, which is operated by the Heritage Council. Another scheme which would be of interest would be the Civic Structures grant scheme run by the Department of the Environment. There also is tax relief available for schemes like this, which was availed by the owner here under the Taxes Consolidation Act, which relates to the repair and maintenance of historic buildings. The main challenges with a restoration project of this type are to ensure that you retain as much historic fabric as possible, and also that any new buildings contribute to the character of the place. The aim would be to have minimal intervention and to retain as much historic fabric as possible. We would recommend that planning permissions are sought, conservation management plans are put in place, method statements are submitted along with specifications of the materials that are going to be used for the restoration project. This will enable everybody to know what's going to happen, how it's going to be done, and also it enables the best practice to be implemented at all times. The restoration project at Mullan Village has contributed to sustainable development by ensuring that old buildings are not lost. The reuse of old buildings and the energy embodied in the actual structure itself are future-proofed. The character of the village has been retained and its setting has been retained, and that will ensure there's a continuity of society here into the future.
Good place to live, couldn't come to a better place, and if you want a good house, come down to Mullan.
I live in the community, and the people that I've sold the houses to in the main have been my neighbours, and I'd be embarrassed if I wasn't selling something that I could be proud of. In 10 years' time, I would love to see a row of happy families living in the village, and I'd like to feel that they would be happy with the houses they have bought, the village that they have bought into, and the community that they're living in.
Mullan is a living example of how protecting our historic environment contributes to building sustainable communities.